What if the happiest people you know aren't happier because life is easier for them, but because they follow a few tiny habits that most people completely ignore? Think about it for a moment. The happiest people in the world don't necessarily earn more money than you. They don't always have better jobs. They don't live in bigger houses or drive nicer cars, and they certainly don't live without problems. In fact, many of them deal with the same pressures, responsibilities, and frustrations that you face every single day. So what's the real difference? It's not luck. It's not talent. And it's definitely not perfect circumstances. The difference is surprisingly small. The happiest people quietly practice a few simple habits every single day. Habits so small that most people underestimate them. They scroll past them, they ignore them. They assume something that simple couldn't possibly change how they feel. And that's exactly why so many people stay stuck feeling stressed, distracted, and unsatisfied, even when their life looks fine on the outside. But the people who genuinely feel calm, grateful, and emotionally balanced tend to follow the same daily pattern. And here's something most people never realize until much later in life. Happiness rarely arrives as one big dramatic change. It doesn't usually come from a sudden breakthrough, a new job, a bigger paycheck, or a perfect relationship. Most of the time, happiness grows quietly in the background of your life through small daily actions that shape how your mind experiences the world. If you study people who carry a calm energy around them, people who seem emotionally steady even when life gets messy, you begin to notice something interesting. Their life circumstances are not always easier. But their daily habits are different. They protect their mind in small ways that most people overlook. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." And if you really sit with that idea for a moment, it changes how you look at happiness entirely. Because it suggests that happiness is not something you chase. It is something you practice. In this video, you'll discover 7 small habits that the happiest people practice every day. None of them require more time, more money, or a complete life overhaul. But together, they create a powerful shift in the way you experience your life. And pay very close attention to habit number 7, because that last habit is the one that makes all the others work. Without it, these habits feel inconsistent. With it, everything suddenly starts to click. By the end of this video, you'll have a simple blueprint you can start using today to feel calmer, more present, and genuinely happier in your daily life. Let's begin. And before we move into the first habit, let me ask you something quietly for a second. How often do you finish a day feeling mentally exhausted, even if nothing dramatic actually happened? Not physically exhausted. Mentally. Like your mind was constantly reacting, constantly processing, constantly dealing with noise. That feeling is not random. It's usually the result of small mental patterns repeated every day. And the 7 habits you're about to hear are powerful because they gently interrupt those patterns. The first habit is surprisingly simple. It is the 2-minute morning pause. Most people begin their mornings the same way. The alarm rings, and before their feet even touch the floor, they grab their phone. Notifications, emails, social media, news headlines. Within seconds, their mind is already flooded with other people's opinions, problems, and expectations. And then they wonder why they feel anxious before the day has even started. Think about how powerful those first few minutes of the morning really are. Your mind is in its most impressionable state. Your thoughts haven't fully formed yet. Your emotional tone for the day is still flexible. And yet most people immediately hand control of that mental space to the outside world. 1 notification becomes 5. 5 notifications become 10. A message reminds you of a task. A news headline triggers concern. A social media post sparks comparison. Before you've even taken your first deep breath of the day, your nervous system is already reacting. And here's the quiet danger in that pattern. When the outside world controls the first thoughts of your day, your mind begins the day in reaction mode instead of intention mode. The happiest people tend to do something different. Instead of immediately reaching for their phone, they take 2 minutes. Just 2. They stay still, take a few slow breaths, and think about one thing they're looking forward to that day. It could be their morning coffee, a conversation with a friend, a peaceful walk outside, even something simple like watching their favorite show later. It doesn't need to be something big. What matters is that you choose the first thought of your day instead of letting the world choose it for you. Now at first, 2 minutes might sound almost too simple. But psychologically, those 2 minutes act like a reset button for your mind. You're telling your brain something very important. Today, I decide the tone of my day. Epictetus once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. And that idea becomes very real in the first minutes after you wake up. Because in that moment, you truly do have a choice. Those 2 minutes create a moment of mental clarity before the noise of the world enters your mind. And that small moment of control can shape the emotional tone of your entire day. You see, when you pause like this, something subtle begins to happen. Your breathing slows down. Your thoughts settle. Your nervous system moves from alert mode into a calmer state. And instead of rushing into the day feeling mentally scattered, you step into it with a small sense of direction. Over time, that tiny ritual begins to train your brain to expect calm instead of chaos in the morning. Let me paint a quick picture for you. Imagine 2 different mornings. In the first one, the alarm rings. You grab your phone immediately. Messages. Emails. A news update about something stressful. A social media post that makes you compare your life to someone else's. Within 3 minutes your brain is juggling 10 different thoughts. Now imagine the second morning. The alarm rings. You stay still for a moment. No phone. Just quiet. You take a slow breath. Then another. And you think about one simple thing you're looking forward to today. Maybe it's the taste of your coffee. Maybe it's finishing a task you've been avoiding. Maybe it's simply the feeling of stepping outside for fresh air. 2 minutes pass. And suddenly the day feels different. The circumstances are the same. The responsibilities are still there. But your mind entered the day calmly instead of reactively. That difference compounds over time. Seneca once wrote something that perfectly captures this idea. He said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." And that is exactly what the 2-minute morning pause teaches your brain to do. It anchors you in the present before the rush of the day begins. Now here's something important to remember. This habit isn't about perfection. Some mornings you will forget. Some mornings you'll still reach for your phone out of habit. That's normal. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is simply to return to the pause whenever you remember. And something interesting begins to happen when you practice this consistently. Your mornings stop feeling rushed. Your mind stops feeling immediately overwhelmed. And slowly, almost quietly, you begin to feel like you are living your day instead of chasing it. Now here's something I want you to think about while you're listening. Out of all the habits we're going to talk about today, this one might be the easiest to start tomorrow morning. It requires no tools. No preparation. No extra time in your schedule. Just 2 minutes. And if you're already finding value in these kinds of simple mindset shifts that strengthen your inner calm, consider subscribing to Stoic Quiet Strength. This channel is built around one simple idea: real strength often grows in silence. Small daily disciplines that quietly reshape your mind. But for now, stay with me, because the next habit might change the way you notice your life throughout the entire day. And it only takes 5 seconds. The second habit is the gratitude snapshot. You've probably heard about gratitude many times before. Journals, lists, daily exercises. But most people quit those habits after a few days because they feel like another task. And this is where many people misunderstand gratitude completely. They think gratitude has to be structured, written down, organized like homework. But the happiest people approach it very differently. This habit is much simpler. Once a day, pause for just 5 seconds and notice one good moment that is happening right now. Maybe you're sipping a warm cup of coffee that tastes perfect. Maybe sunlight is coming through your window. Maybe someone just sent you a message that made you smile. Take a mental snapshot of that moment. Don't analyze it. Don't overthink it. Just notice it and allow yourself to feel it for a few seconds. That's it. 5 seconds may not sound like much, but those 5 seconds do something extremely powerful inside the brain. Your brain is naturally wired to focus on problems. Psychologists call this the negativity bias. Our minds constantly scan for threats, mistakes, and potential dangers. That instinct helped humans survive for thousands of years. But in modern life, it often makes us overlook small positive experiences that are happening all around us. Think about your average day. You might experience 10 small pleasant moments without realizing it. A cool breeze while you're walking. A meal that tastes better than expected. A short laugh with someone. The quiet relief of finishing a task. But the brain rarely pauses to absorb those moments. Instead, it moves immediately to the next worry, the next responsibility, the next unfinished task. The gratitude snapshot interrupts that automatic pattern. It tells your brain something different. It tells your brain, this moment matters. When you pause for even a few seconds and consciously notice something good, your brain begins to register that experience more deeply. Over time, this slowly retrains your attention. You begin noticing positive details that previously slipped past your awareness. And here's something fascinating about how the brain works. What you repeatedly notice becomes what you believe your life is made of. If your mind constantly focuses on problems, your life will feel like a chain of problems. But if your mind begins noticing small positive moments, your life gradually starts to feel richer, calmer, and more balanced. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly when he wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Notice he didn't say happiness depends on perfect circumstances. He said it depends on the quality of your thoughts. And thoughts are largely shaped by what you pay attention to. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two people walking through the exact same day. One person constantly notices what is missing, what went wrong, what could be better. The other person still sees the problems, but they also pause occasionally to notice what is working, what is peaceful, what is good in that moment. Over time, those two people will feel like they are living completely different lives, even if their circumstances are almost identical. The gratitude snapshot doesn't require a journal, a routine, or a schedule. It can happen anywhere. In the middle of your workday. During a walk. While eating. While listening to music. It takes 5 seconds, but those 5 seconds send a quiet signal to your brain, life is not only made of problems. And here's something subtle that happens when you practice this regularly. You begin to anticipate good moments. Your brain starts scanning for them naturally. Instead of only searching for what's wrong, it begins looking for what feels right. That shift alone can change the emotional texture of your entire day. Now let me ask you something quietly. When was the last time you truly noticed a small moment while it was happening? Not later. Not in memory, but in the exact moment it occurred. Many people realize they rarely do this. Life becomes a sequence of tasks instead of a sequence of experiences. This small 5-second pause changes that. And if you stay with these habits until the end of the video, you'll notice something interesting. None of them are dramatic. None of them require major effort. But together, they reshape how your mind interacts with your day. Now the next habit is one that many people overlook completely, yet it creates an immediate emotional lift not only for others, but for you as well. The third habit is the one-person compliment. This next habit might feel uncomfortable at first, but it has a powerful emotional effect. Every day, give one genuine compliment to one person. Not something superficial, but something real and specific. Tell someone you admire the way they handled a difficult situation. Tell a colleague you appreciate their effort. Tell a friend that their energy always lifts the mood around them. Even complimenting a stranger can create a surprising moment of connection. At first, many people hesitate to do this. They think, what if it feels awkward? But what most people discover very quickly is that genuine appreciation rarely feels awkward. It feels human. When you sincerely acknowledge something positive in another person, your brain releases oxytocin, a chemical associated with trust and bonding. And the fascinating part is that it happens in both people. You make someone else feel valued, and your brain experiences a boost of positive emotion at the same time. But there's another hidden effect that makes this habit even more powerful. When you intentionally start looking for good qualities in others, your mind gradually becomes less focused on criticism and more focused on appreciation, and that subtle shift changes the emotional tone of your daily interactions. Think about how often people go through their day without hearing anything positive about themselves. Many people are silently carrying stress, pressure, self-doubt. One sincere sentence can shift someone's entire mood. Epictetus once said, "Kindness is invincible." Not loud kindness. Not dramatic kindness. Quiet kindness. The kind that happens in ordinary moments. A simple sentence like, "I really admire how patient you were in that situation," can stay with someone longer than you realize. And here's the interesting psychological twist. When you practice noticing good qualities in others, you begin seeing the world through a different lens. Instead of constantly scanning for flaws, your mind begins scanning for strengths. That habit changes your internal dialogue as well. People who regularly appreciate others often become less harsh toward themselves. The mind that looks for good in people slowly learns to look for good in life. Let me share a quick everyday scenario. Imagine you're standing in line somewhere and the person helping you is clearly tired but still doing their job politely. Most people simply complete the transaction and walk away. But if you say something simple like, "I appreciate how helpful you were today," you create a moment of connection that breaks the routine of the day. And that moment doesn't just affect them. It affects you. Because for a brief second, the interaction becomes human rather than transactional. Seneca once wrote something that reflects this beautifully. He said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." The happiest people seem to understand this instinctively. They don't wait for special occasions to express appreciation. They do it in ordinary moments. And over time, those ordinary moments build stronger relationships, lighter interactions, and a deeper sense of connection with the world around them. Now here's something interesting I want you to notice. The first 3 habits we've discussed are all extremely small. 2 minutes in the morning. 5 seconds of noticing a good moment. 1 sentence of appreciation. But together they begin changing how your mind experiences the day. And the next habit introduces something different. It involves your body. Because happiness is not just a mental experience. It's physical too. The fourth habit is the 10-minute move. When people hear the word exercise, they often imagine long workouts, intense gym sessions, and exhausting routines. And because that feels overwhelming, they often avoid it completely. The thought of committing to an hour-long workout can feel intimidating, especially on busy days. But happiness doesn't require an hour in the gym. Just 10 minutes of movement can make a meaningful difference. Take a short walk around your neighborhood, stretch your body in the morning, dance to one song in your kitchen, do a few push-ups or follow a quick yoga routine. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is simply to move. When your body moves, your brain releases endorphins that naturally improve your mood. Movement also sends a signal to your mind that you are active, capable, and engaged with life. And here's a psychological detail many people overlook. When you complete a small action like a 10-minute movement session, your brain registers it as a win. You kept a promise to yourself. That small sense of accomplishment builds momentum. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this idea when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Sometimes the hardest part is simply starting. But once the body begins moving, the resistance often disappears. And something else begins to happen when movement becomes a daily habit. Your energy changes. Your posture changes. Your breathing deepens. Your mind becomes clearer. Even a simple walk can interrupt mental loops of worry and overthinking. Many people notice that their best ideas appear while walking. Their mind finally has space to breathe. You don't have to transform your body overnight. You don't have to push yourself to extremes. Just 10 minutes. A small commitment that quietly tells your mind and body, "I am taking care of myself." And if you're still listening at this point, that already says something important about you. It means you're someone who cares about building a calmer mind and a stronger inner life. If that resonates with you, this might be a good moment to subscribe to Stoic Quiet Strength. This channel is for people who believe that real power often grows quietly through daily discipline. But stay with me, because the next habit might be the one most people in the modern world desperately need. And it's about something we rarely do anymore. Disconnecting. The fifth habit is the intentional unplug. Modern life keeps our attention constantly connected to screens, phones, laptops, notifications, messages, endless scrolling. Even when we think we're relaxing, our brain is still processing information. We're reading headlines, watching short clips, responding to messages, switching between apps, absorbing opinions, reacting to news. The mind rarely gets a moment of true quiet anymore. And here's something most people don't notice until they step away from it. Constant stimulation quietly exhausts your nervous system. Your brain was never designed to process hundreds of pieces of information every hour. Yet that is exactly what happens when we move from notification to notification all day long. This is why the happiest people intentionally create moments of disconnection. Every day, take at least 15 minutes away from all screens. No phone, no laptop, no television. Just be present in the real world around you. Go for a short walk. Sit quietly with a cup of tea. Watch the sky. Talk with someone without distractions. Look out the window. Notice your surroundings. At first, this might feel strange. Many people realize they haven't spent quiet time without a screen in years. The mind may even feel restless for a few minutes. It might reach for stimulation out of habit. But if you stay with the quiet for just a little while, something interesting happens. Your breathing slows down. Your thoughts become less scattered. Your attention sharpens. The nervous system begins to settle. Seneca once wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." But it's very difficult to enjoy the present if your attention is constantly pulled somewhere else. The intentional unplug creates a small pocket of stillness in your day. A moment where your mind is not reacting, not consuming, not comparing. Just experiencing. And this is where something deeper begins to return. Clarity. Many people struggle with overthinking, yet they rarely give their mind any quiet space to process thoughts. When the mind is constantly stimulated, it never gets the chance to organize itself. But when you step away from screens for even 15 minutes, your brain begins sorting thoughts naturally. You may notice ideas forming. You may suddenly remember something important. You may even feel emotions you didn't realize were sitting quietly in the background of your mind. This is not a bad thing. This is the mind finally having space to breathe. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to withdraw into himself. Not in isolation from the world, but in moments of reflection and quiet awareness. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." In modern life, intentional unplugging is one of the closest ways we recreate that retreat. And here's something powerful that happens over time. Those 15 minutes become something you actually look forward to. A small island of calm in the middle of a busy day. Some people use it in the afternoon when their energy dips. Some use it in the evening to transition out of work mode. Some use it during a walk after dinner. There is no perfect time. The only important thing is that the moment exists. Now let me ask you something honestly. When was the last time you sat quietly for a few minutes without checking anything, reading anything, or watching anything? Many people realize it rarely happens anymore. But once you create that space again, your mind begins to feel lighter. Less cluttered. Less reactive. And when the mind is calmer, happiness becomes easier to access. Now the next habit is something that quietly solves one of the biggest sources of daily stress. And it happens right before you go to sleep. The sixth habit is the nightly brain dump. For many people, the most stressful part of the day happens at night. They lie down in bed, close their eyes, and suddenly their mind becomes loud. Unfinished tasks, conversations from earlier in the day, worries about tomorrow, random thoughts that refuse to disappear. The mind starts racing and sleep becomes difficult. Have you ever noticed how the mind suddenly remembers everything the moment the lights go off? That email you forgot to send. That conversation you wish you handled differently. That task waiting for you tomorrow morning. It's like the brain opens 20 different tabs at once. Psychologists often compare thoughts to open browser tabs. When they stay in your mind, they continue running in the background, consuming mental energy. And when too many tabs remain open, the system slows down. The nightly brain dump is a simple way to close those tabs. Before going to bed, take 5 minutes and write down everything that is on your mind, tasks, worries, ideas, reminders, frustrations. Don't organize it. Don't try to solve anything. Don't judge the thoughts. Just get them out of your head and onto paper. This simple act sends a powerful signal to the brain: these thoughts are captured. You don't need to hold them anymore. Epictetus once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And nighttime thinking is often the perfect example of that. The mind replays situations, exaggerates problems, imagines future difficulties. But when you write those thoughts down, they often lose their intensity. Seeing them on paper makes them feel manageable instead of overwhelming. Many people who practice this habit notice something surprising. Their sleep improves almost immediately. Because the brain no longer feels responsible for remembering everything. Your mind can finally relax. And there is another hidden benefit here. Over time, writing down your thoughts increases self-awareness. You begin noticing patterns. certain worries repeat. Certain frustrations appear again and again. That awareness becomes the first step toward changing them. Seneca believed deeply in the power of daily reflection. In fact, he practiced something very similar each night. He would quietly review his day and examine his thoughts and actions. He once wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said." This nightly reflection gave him clarity, peace, and personal growth. Your nightly brain dump works in the same spirit. It clears mental noise so your mind can rest. And when you sleep better, everything improves. Your patience, your mood, your focus, your resilience. Now we've reached the final habit. And hope you remember earlier when I said habit number 7 is the one that makes all the others work. The 7th habit is the identity statement. This is the habit that connects all the others. At some point during the day, say one simple sentence to yourself: I am the kind of person who takes care of my happiness. It may seem small, almost too simple, but this habit works at a deeper level than the others. Our actions are strongly influenced by the identity we believe about ourselves. If someone believes they are always stressed, unlucky, or overwhelmed, their choices often reinforce that belief. They skip the morning pause because they think they're too busy. They ignore moments of gratitude because they believe their life isn't good enough. They stay constantly distracted because they believe that's just how modern life works. But when you begin to see yourself as someone who actively protects and builds their happiness, your decisions start aligning with that identity. You take the 2-minute morning pause because that's what someone who values their well-being would do. You notice moments of gratitude. You move your body. You disconnect from distractions. You clear your mind before bed. Not because you're forcing yourself, but because it reflects the person you believe you are becoming. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this constantly. He wrote in his private journal words that guided his behavior: waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Identity shapes action. And when identity changes, habits stop feeling like effort. They start feeling natural. Now imagine practicing these 7 small habits every day. 2 minutes of calm in the morning. 5 seconds of gratitude. 1 genuine compliment. 10 minutes of movement. 15 minutes away from screens. 5 minutes clearing your mind before sleep. 1 simple reminder of who you are becoming. Individually, each habit may seem small, but together, they reshape how you experience your life. Instead of waking up overwhelmed, you start your day intentionally. Instead of rushing through life, you notice moments worth appreciating. Instead of feeling disconnected, you strengthen human connections. Instead of constant stimulation, you give your mind space to breathe. Instead of racing thoughts at night, you sleep with a clearer mind. And instead of drifting through life reacting to everything, you begin shaping the kind of person you are becoming. So here's a question for you. Which of these habits do you think would make the biggest difference in your life right now? The 2-minute morning pause? The gratitude snapshot? The 1-person compliment? The 10-minute movement? The intentional unplug? The nightly brain dump? Or the identity statement? Take a moment and share it in the comments. I always read them, and it's interesting to see which habit resonates most with different people. And if this video helped you see happiness from a new perspective, consider subscribing to Stoic Quiet Strength. This channel is for people who believe real power often grows quietly, through calm thinking, disciplined habits, and inner strength. And before you leave, there's something important I want you to think about. Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness as if it's something far away. A bigger goal. A future moment. A better situation. But the truth is much quieter than that. Happiness is usually built through small daily choices that protect the peace of your own mind. And the 7 habits you just heard are simple enough to start today. Now if you want to go deeper into building a calm, focused mind rooted in Stoic wisdom, the next video on your screen will show you another powerful mental habit that emotionally strong people practice every single day to stay locked in. And once you understand it, you'll start getting the rewards of a focused mind. Go watch that video now. Until then, stay sharp, stay aware, stay disciplined, and protect your peace.